This is now the Way of Astrology Step 4. And I mentioned last time in Step 3 that a chart doesn't tell you anything until you ask it a question. And I want to give you an example of what I mean by that, or why it's important. So this happens to be the chart of Emma Watson. And we looked at the Ascendant. I'll put that there. So we've got in a chart 12 houses. And this is the Ascendant, the self. And this is the 10th house cusp, the Midheaven. So Emma Watson has 27 Virgo rising. So if we want to know about her personally, we study 27 Virgo rising. And so the keyword for Virgo is I analyze. She's in life to analyze herself. Virgo is also the teacher. So she is a teacher, one way or the other, whatever that might mean. And again, we'll get into this as time goes by. So the Midheaven up here, the 10th house cusp, it shows you, she has 26 Gemini here. Right? So this is, okay, imagine you meet somebody, or you go to a wedding, and you meet somebody who is attending the wedding, and you talk to them. What you see when you talk to somebody one-on-one is the Ascendant. And then if the person you're talking to has to give a speech at the wedding, what you see when they're giving the speech is the Midheaven. So you're not the same when you're talking to somebody one-on-one as you are when you're giving a presentation or when you're in the public in some way. And so you can find that they're a great public speaker, and then you think, oh, it must be great to talk to them one-on-one. And you talk to them one-on-one, and they're really boring, and you wonder what happened to the person who was so effective in public. And it's the difference between the Midheaven sign and planets and the Ascendant by sign and planet. So the reason I'm going like this is because Emma Watson's Midheaven, the Ascendant is Virgo, and that's ruled by Mercury. And the Midheaven is Gemini, also ruled by Mercury. So the planet that rules the Ascendant and the planet that rules the Midheaven is the same planet. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because Emma used to be, or was for a time, the spokesperson for Burberry, which is a clothing line in England. I don't know if it's international. It probably is international. But she was the public face of Burberry. Why? Because it's not like she was chosen because of who she is and because she was in Harry Potter, and she was well known and everybody in the world knew her, and she was very popular and she had great publicity because she was so well known. But the point I want to make is the planet that rules the Midheaven, which is how you are in public, and the planet that rules the self, how you are personally, are the same. And that is why she was the public face of Burberry and not somebody else, because there's lots of good-looking women out there, good-looking people, but they're not chosen to be the spokesperson for a particular brand of anything, a particular luxury brand or expensive brand. So the point I made at the beginning was a chart doesn't tell you anything until you ask it a question. So maybe the question is, why is it that one person and not somebody else is the public face of a brand? So I was thinking, who else do I know who is a public spokesperson? And the person who came to mind was Matthew McConaughey, that you might know from Dazed and Confused. He also got an Oscar for the Dallas Buyers Club, and he's very popular in all sorts of ways. And Matthew, and I'm using a chart time from Astro Data Bank, and I think it's A or double A, so it's from his birth certificate, so it's reasonably accurate. So Matthew has 12 Gemini rising, and he has 25 Aquarius on the midheaven, right? So he one-on-one is talkative and witty and chatty. In public, he's Aquarian, so he's a little bit weird as well. So we can look here and think, well, we've got an air sign on the ascendant and an air sign on the midheaven. Is that enough? And it's not really. One thing you'll find when it comes to astrology, especially when you get into it, is that people involved with astrology pick and choose examples that prove that what they're saying is correct. And it doesn't work most of the time. You can't do that. You can't just pick and choose. You need to understand the rule. And then when you find the rule, it has to operate every time the rule every time the rule is there. So we can look at Matthew and think Gemini rising and Aquarian midheaven. So maybe that's why. But I mentioned last time decanates. So we have, for instance, Gemini. That's Gemini. That's 0 degrees, 10, 20, and 30 degrees of Gemini. First decanate Gemini is Gemini. He's a teenager who's a teenager. The middle section is Libra. He's a teenager who's also a general, because Libra is the general. I mentioned before, Libra is a social hostess, but Libra is a general as well. They like to give orders and be in control. Libra. And then the third decanate is Aquarius. Okay, so that's Gemini. So Matthew has the Libra decanate of Gemini rising. And Libra, we know, is ruled by Venus. So if we do the same for Aquarius, which is his midheaven, we've got 0, 10, 20, and 30 degrees of Aquarius. So the first decanate is Aquarius. The second decanate is the next air sign as you go around the zodiac, and it's Gemini. And the third decanate is a Libra decanate. So at first glance, Matthew's chart is different from Emma's because she's got the ruler of the ascendant and the midheaven, the same planet. It looks like Matthew doesn't have that. But if you look at decanates, here you've got the Libra decanate of Gemini rising. You've also got the Libra decanate of Aquarius on the midheaven, and Libra is ruled by Venus. So Matthew has the ruler of the ascendant decanate is Venus, and the ruler of the midheaven decanate is Venus as well. So he has, in his own way, the same thing that Emma has, the rule of the ascendant, also ruling the midheaven. I'm going to, excuse me, I was going to sneeze. Okay, so this is what I mean about a chart doesn't tell you anything until you ask it a question. You look at the chart, pick a few people that you really like or that you really hate and get their birth data from Astro Data Bank and use charts that are A or double A because they're reasonably accurate to begin with. And then find out some facts about the life of the native or about the life of the individual. So we have, for instance, the fact like Emma Watson isn't married. She's 33, I think, so she's not married. So you look to the 7th house cusp and understand why she isn't married yet. Because lots of people get married in their 20s. She didn't. Why not? I don't think Matthew McConaughey is married. And again, so you find out some facts about the individual's life. Do they have brothers and sisters? Do they get along with brothers and sisters? Have they published? Have they been to university? Have they got a degree? And I think we're going to look at that next time, because a number of actors and actresses have got university degrees, and so when a university degree, you look at the 9th house. So you look to the sign on the cusp and the rulers to get an idea of if the person would be motivated to want to get a degree and if they would be successful, and also what kind of degree they would get. So at this point, I want to just point out that Matthew and has, it may not appear to be the same rule, but actually it is when you look at decanates. And we're looking at decanates. We look at decanates all the time because they make a big difference. And that's one of the reasons that you need to use a chart like this and not whole sign houses, because we want to know what degree is on a cusp so that we can know the decanate, so we can understand what planet or planets rule that particular part of the zodiac or that particular area of the individual's life, because it's on a house cusp. So that's my example for today. The Midheaven ruler is the same here. So my question is, who else do we know who's famous, whose chart we could get, who is the representative of a particular brand? And I mean, there are some people, but if you look them up on Astrodata Bank and you can't get an accurate birth time, then we forget about it for the time being. We're better off to deal with A and AA birth times, because the birth time is taken from the birth certificate, or maybe from memory, rather than not really knowing what time of day the person was born. Because if you don't know the time of day the person was born, you can't get cusps. You can't then know what sign is on a cusp ruling a different area of life. So that briefly was step number 4, and I'll be back in a few days with step 5. If you have comments or questions, leave a comment or email me directly and we'll take it from there. Okay? Thanks very much. Bye-bye.